Hey guys, this is Karan back with another video. Today I'm going to unbox and showcase a watch that does not belong to me, but it belongs to a good friend of mine, Vandit. He kindly lent this watch to me for unboxing showcase, so thank you buddy for this opportunity. Before I proceed, however, I must give a huge shout out to all my friends, members and fellow administrators on Watch Enthusiast India, India's fastest growing social media platform for watch collectors and watch nerds, and also to Divers Watches Facebook group, the largest Facebook group for fans of Divers Watches. You can find the links to these groups in the description box below. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for a lot more watch content. Follow me on Instagram for daily wristwatch shots, as well as to participate in my journey. And leave a comment. It really means a lot to me. How many of us watch collectors have heard the name Doxa or know what it truly means and signifies in the world of watchmaking? In this day and age of social media where people chase big Swiss names, Doxa gets relegated to the second or even the third tier of Swiss watchmaking. But that has not always been the case. Doxa has been around since 1889, and they've had a long history of making gentleman pocket watches and dashboard clocks. In fact, they patented 8-day power reserve dashboard clock in 1908. But did you also know that Doxa was the first watchmaker to make the helium escape valve commercially available in a wristwatch? And also that they were the first watchmaker to use an orange dial in the Divers watches. I hope you're intrigued enough, because let's proceed to the unboxing. Okay, so there is an outer box in all white with the Doxa logo and the small Jenny fish logo. People have wondered what this fish logo signifies, but it is simply a stylized alphabet J, which is the logo of the Jenny family to which the Doxa brand belongs. Let's open this up. Inside there is a nylon carry case for the watch, which has hard padding all around for rough use. Underneath that is the user manual and the warranty card. Let's open the carry case. Okay, so let's put all of that away and take off the plastic and focus on the watch. Right. So the Doxa Sub300T Professional comes on a fitted bracelet in the beads of rice pattern, and they have an optional matching fitted rubber strap with curved ends for a seamless fit. There are so many unique things about this watch, so let me simply begin with its dimensions and specifications. It is 42.5 millimeters across, 44.5 millimeters lug to lug, and is 14 millimeters thick, including the bezel and the crystal. It is powered by a Swiss ETA 2824 automatic self-winding movement with a power reserve of 40 hours. The movement inside the Doxa watches are regulated to give you accurate timekeeping, as well as a smooth sweep of the second hand. The case shape here is very unique. This is called a cushion case or a tonneau case, because of the wide oblong design with sections of solid stainless steel surrounding and protecting the core innards of the watch from bumps and scrapes during recreational diving. This design makes the watch sit quite snugly, leaving very little wiggle room. The case back is solid and screwed down to maintain water resistance of 1,200 meters below sea level. The crown has the Jenny logo in orange contrast on steel. The half-recessed crown is a hallmark of Doxa Divers watches, and it gives additional protection against bumps and hits. The most distinctive feature of this watch, and the USP of Doxa for many decades now, is the bright orange dial. In the world of black dial divers watches, Doxa did research in the 1960s and found that orange color is best visualized underwater, and was the first brand ever to use an orange colored dial in their watches. This myth has since been debunked, in fact, and it was found that all colors fade to black anywhere below 150 feet. So a color dial is simply an aesthetic consideration in today's world. The legibility of a dive watch has nothing to do with the dial color, but rather the amount of contrast between the hands and the dial. But it sure makes for one cool watch that will turn heads and start interesting conversations. This brings me to the hands on this watch. The hour's hand has deliberately been kept short and stubby to lay emphasis on the longer, thicker, and more legible minutes hand. The T suffix in the name sub 300T used to denote that tritium was used as the luminous material on the hands and markers, but nowadays it is all superluminova. The smooth, sweeping seconds hand has a boxy, luminous marker going well with the hour markers overall. Now let me charge up the lume with this handy UV torch and show you a lume shot. As you can see, the lume is green in color, but I think for superluminova it does fade a lot quicker than what I expected. Right. Let's look at a cool phenomenon of chemistry and physics that can quickly become dangerous in the world of diving and where Doxa truly shines with their innovations. First up, professional depth divers use the diving bell to go down to great depths. And the pressure inside the diving bell is maintained a lot higher than the surface to counteract the immense pressures of the ocean around them. Therefore, the divers inside the diving bell breathe a mixed air which includes helium. Helium is an inert noble gas that doesn't react to anything, but being one of the smallest atoms in existence, it can seep into the watch despite all the seals and gaskets. Now, as long as the diver is inside the diving bell and under the ocean, the helium will not do anything. But with rapid return to the surface, and a pressure differential however being created, the helium inside the watch will expand and cause damage to the watch, usually with the crystal blowing out. Most watchmakers at that time worked around this by making solid cases and thick crystals. But Rolex and Doxa worked together to invent an elegant solution, and so the helium escape valve was born. This valve has a one-way watertight membrane that allows helium to escape out of the watch without letting any water inside. While Rolex used the helium escape valve in their Comex issued professional submariners and didn't release it commercially until 1971, Doxa was the first watchmaker to make a helium escape valve equipped diver's watch commercially available in 1969. That's pretty interesting. Now, the other thing happening to the body of the diver is that nitrogen in the air which the diver is breathing begins to dissolve into the blood at higher underwater pressures. When the diver ascends towards the surface, this nitrogen needs to be given time to become gaseous again and exhaled out. Otherwise, it can accumulate in the big joints, the spine, and the brain as big bubbles and cause serious damage to the human body and even death. To account for time needed for the nitrogen to get liberated, an ascending diver needs to stop at pre-calculated depths for specific durations of time. These decompression stops are the basis of depth and saturation diving. For recreational diving, however, and which is mostly to shallow depths, one needs to be aware of the non-decompression times, meaning the amount of time a diver can stay at a certain depth without requiring decompression stops on the way up. Divers' watches until then came only with the dive time scale, but Doxa, along with the help of Jacques Cousteau, the then chairman of US Divers and himself an accomplished diver and underwater explorer, developed the non-decompression bezel, which became a standard feature on all of Doxa divers' watches. You can see two scales on the bezel here in stark contrast and with different colored markings. The inner dive time scale and the outer non-decompression scale. I think these are both quite easy to read. Let me show you how. For a regular dive time scale, one needs to align the bezel luminous marker with the minutes hand and then begin the dive. As the minute hand will move forward, the diver will know how much time has elapsed and can safely return to the surface by keeping track of the time. To use the non-decompression scale, one needs to similarly align the bezel pip with the minutes hand. Now, suppose the diver wants to go down to a depth of 100 feet So as per the scale, they can remain at that depth for 25 minutes and then begin the ascent without needing any decompression stops. Now, if they wanted to go down to 150 feet, then they will have only 6 minutes to remain at that depth before coming back up. Otherwise, after which they will need decompression stops. Now, such a decompression bezel was also used by Hoya as well as Eterna. The markings you see here are in feet, which means this watch was marketed and sold in the US market. The watches that are sold in the European market have markings in meters. Now, such mind-boggling at what all information can be put on something so small as a wristwatch. Obviously, in today's day and age of handy wearable dive computers that can calculate dive times, decompression stops, tank pressures, and so much more, a dive watch is all but a redundant accessory. But you might still see some experienced divers wear a dive watch as a backup nonetheless. The bezel, as you can see, has a sawtooth edge that grips very nicely and makes for easy and firm rotation of the bezel. Now let me show you how this watch wears. There you go. I think this is nicely done by Doxa. The wide cushion case wears quite well. Right. The first Doxa diver watch to bring these features to the market was the Sub 300T, which evolved into the Sub 1200T in the last decade, which I also own and have it here for comparison. This 1200T, as you can see from the logo on the dial, is one of 25 pieces limited edition we got commissioned for Divers Watches Facebook group, where I am an administrator. The 1200T is a slightly thicker watch with a more grippy bezel, and the bracelet is the one major aesthetic difference between the two variants. The 1200T has a straight ending bracelet, whereas the 300T has a flared link right where it meets the case for a streamlined appearance. Also, the 1200T bracelet, being an older model, comes with a simple sturdy fold-over clasp, whereas the all-new 300T has a ratcheting diver's extension clasp, which can be used to extend the bracelet length quickly to adjust over a diving wetsuit. I think this is a worthy upgrade. The new 300T is a wonderful final end stage product from Doxa, with the 1200T being a temporary evolutionary stage, and the 1200T has already been discontinued now. So that is because the 300T pays homage to the original 300T, yet maintains a hefty water resistance of 1200 meters despite a slimmer case. With Doxa finally arriving in India, it was only fitting that our group members gave them a big welcome, and through Ethos Watch Boutiques, India's only authorized dealer for Doxa watches, we made a bulk purchase of 14 Doxa watches at the absolute best prices in the world. If you want one too, then send me a direct message on my Instagram linked below. As always, thank you for watching.